Hello, everyone. Welcome to, thank you for coming, by the way. Let's give ourselves a round of applause for showing up. Thank you to the Chamber. Thank you to Defiance Wine, Justin Prieto, who has provided the space, the Daily, and also the Lost Parrot. And we have three amazing business people here celebrating 30 years of business, which is absolutely incredible. Yeah. So my first question, I'm going to get right into it. 1994.
That's not a question.
Well, what were you thinking starting a business in 1994?
Do I need to identify myself?
Yeah, sure.
It's David Plenn, the Dinosaur Farm. We started in late 1994, and what I was thinking was I had a son born in 1992, and I was a full-time musician, songwriter, and I needed to do something that kept me in town and not travel, and something more consistent. I'd had great years, mediocre years, bad years, great years, all over the map. So it was like, what can we do? Stay in town. We got this baby here. We have to go to San Marino to buy toys. There's no toy store in town. What about a toy store? And I was like, that makes sense. And then my wife, who worked at the Natural History Museum, said, I have this name. I said, what's the name? She goes, the Dinosaur Farm. And I was like, dude, I'm there. Let's go. And so that's why we started in 1994.
Awesome. Were you always in the same location that you're in now?
No, we were right next door where Mars is.
Okay.
And in 1994, 2003, we moved right next door, thanks to a dear person who just passed, Ellen Daigle.
Oh,
and
yeah,
she was the one
great.
who said, you need to check this place out. She kind of brought me over there, and I looked at it, and she took good care of us. So that was a good move.
And if you've never been to Dinosaur Farm, there is a kind of an event space in the back. Was that always there?
No, it was a jewelry parlor before. So I subleased it to another business, and we had other things back there. But now it's an event place. We have story time on Wednesdays at 11:30, and dance class and author events. Tomorrow night we'll have a party at 5 o'clock to celebrate our 30 years. So y'all can come to the Dinosaur Farm, go in the back. There'll be champagne and God knows what else, and some music too.
Awesome.
That's it.
All right, Chris, you ready?
Sure.
Let's talk about you and your business and what you were thinking in 1994. The audacity to start a business.
I'm Chris Meeske, owner of Mission Wines. I have a confession to make.
It's 29 years, isn't it?
I piggybacked 10 years off the previous owner. I came from a sommelier background, working in Michelin star restaurants across the United States. Very intense, to say the least. A lot of stories there, long hours. And at the time I was a wine director for Patina Restaurant in Los Angeles when it was on Melrose before it moved to Disney Hall. And I directed the wine program there for a decade. When they decided to sell and move to Disney Hall because they had an opportunity to go there, I decided this is my time to exit out of here. Corporate was getting intense, the numbers crunching, and just there was a lot of pressure. And then working late at night was starting to wear on me. I was 45, and I'm like, man, I got to get off the floor. This is killing me. So I decided to think about what I wanted to do. And friends of mine had become winemakers. They'd gone into making wine. That wasn't quite what I was really passionate about. And I thought, maybe retail would be a great thing to do. And also too, I wanted, and we'll talk about this later, but it's tough, the risk, of leaving something where it's kind of golden handcuffs, getting great pay, fantastic job, one of the best jobs in America for what I did, and 100%. Thinking about doing something else. And so because I was there for a decade, I had great relationships with a lot of clientele. And because I wasn't moving around and getting a new job every 2 years, they saw consistency and stability, and I was able to get investors and put some money together to get to do retail. And this shop appeared in South Pasadena with the owner wanting to get out. And I was able to make a deal and get in there and start the shop. And it was something where it was very risky at the time for me. But at the same time, I just went for it, and that's when I started.
Amazing.
Yeah.
How many investors did you have at the time? Do you remember?
I have.
Are they still a part of it? Or?
Yes,
Okay.
unfortunately. I have
Hey, edit that, please.
I have two groups of investors. I have the founding investors who made the initial commitment with the money, and then I have the other half of investors that bought units of Mission Wine. So I bought 30 investors,
Wow.
of which I'm the largest shareholder. But looking backwards, I didn't really know how to put the whole thing together, initially, and I went from the model that the owner of Patina had, which was sell units, don't make them too expensive. They're going to buy wines, and they're going to tell all their friends to buy wines, and it was one of those kind of things. Didn't quite work out that way, but that's how it went.
The 30 would it be members or owners?
They'd be owners.
Do they get unlimited stock of what they want every month, or how does that work, of wine?
Well, no, how it works is they get special discounting as investors, and the idea was to have a personal sommelier to be able to guide them to whatever purchases they wanted, and be able to have first call on some of the rare wines and the hardest wines to acquire. And
I love that.
And basically that was it. And the investors were people that were hopefully into wine, wanted to buy wine. It was a passion for them and everything else.
That's a cool business model. Are they interchangeable? Can someone buy out that person and be a part of it?
Yes.
I know nothing about your business, so that's why I'm fascinated by it right now. So yeah, that's awesome. Cool. And do you have any available now? Asking for a friend.
We can talk to me later.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, we'll have more questions in a minute. Let's get to Mr. Chuck Jones of Jones Coffee.
I'm Chuck.
1994.
With Jones Coffee.
Let's talk about it.
Oh, 94. Let's see here. I
you
was
still in high
actually.
school?
I was not in high school. I started working on this idea in my last year of college. My brother and I were trying to figure out what we were going to do together. The job market sucked, and we spent our lives going back and forth to our family farm in Guatemala, where my mom was born, coffee farm. And I said, Larry, maybe we can try to do something with this coffee thing. And then we find out that the coffee actually was really high quality. And then we started the first 2 years. We actually started in 92. We were just selling green coffee to roasters. And we realized that after doing that, we weren't going to survive on 5% margins. And so Larry decided to leave, and then I decided that I had to, go make more than 5% margins. So I bought a roaster from one of our roaster customers up in Sacramento called Java City. Bought a 12-kilo roaster. A friend of mine was opening up an ice cream parlor called Soda Jerks on Fair Oaks, and he used to work at Kevin McCafferty. He used to work at the South the soda fountain
right.
up on the corner. And I said, Kevin, can I put my roaster in your store? And he said, well, what's a roaster? And so I showed him pictures of what it looked like. And so he rented his front window space, which was 10 by 10.
That's what that was? I remember that. That's
You remember
so funny.
that?
Yeah.
So 10 by 10, and he was already open for business. So 10 by 10, so I paid $1 a square foot. So my rent was $100 a month. And I put the roaster in there, and I didn't contact the health department because he was already open. I didn't contact Air Quality Management District because they didn't exist at the time. And then I literally took this roaster, bought the venting, which would never have happened these days, climbed up on the roof, cut a hole in the roof, I flashed it, I got the roaster working, and I just started roasting coffee. And I learned about all the drug deals and prostitution that was going on in Central Park across the street because I was roasting like 10, 15 hours a day to supply Kevin and also a couple of wholesale accounts.
We've already had this conversation many times, but it always fascinates me. One thing I'm seeing, you guys all mentioned kind of risk, like you took a risk to get into this. What are some of the obstacles? It's not 5 years, it's not 10 years, it's 30 years, 20 for you. But how do you know what to buy at a toy store? How did you know what kind of inventory to have, and how did you control your inventory? And
It was a little easier for me because I did it kind of as a parent, and I had
Yeah, that
a
makes a
small
lot of sense.
child, and I understood kind of the challenges. One, the challenges of having kids in your store, but also what they liked. And you kind of talk to people. I'd go to pick up my son at elementary school a few years later, and we'd just talk, and people say, I wish you had a fairy princess kit or whatever, and I'd mark that down and find one, something, or if it made sense to me. So I think you just need to talk to people and listen to people and be semi-aware of what it would help me. And a lot of times they would have someone show me this is really great, it's got 540 pieces, whatever it was. I said, as a store owner, that sounds great. As a parent, that sounds like a nightmare. I'll step on them. It'll be in the vacuum. I don't want that. So I think that helps a little bit.
Nice. How about you, Chris?
I worked for some of the best sommeliers in the world at the time, and
But you're coming into a new area.
Yes.
Did that kind of freak you out a little bit?
Well, because I learned in my industry the best producers made wine in the areas of the world, and I learned through working as a wine director how to manage a business from the standpoint that I was responsible for my costs, and I had to explain everything on a monthly basis where I was at. So from that standpoint, there was risk, but I was confident because I had a vision that I wanted to implement, and I was confident that I could do it because I had already been trained to know that, listen, you know what to do, you know how to manage a business, you just have to go ahead and do it. And it's hard when you have, so to speak, golden handcuffs. You're getting paid great, you have a great job, you can go home at night and you're not getting any, the police department isn't coming because somebody busted in or whatever it is. And so from that standpoint, it's hard to leave a job and move on to something else. But I have to say the freedom of owning your own business really outweighs everything. I mean, it's really fantastic. But it was training on my part, and then just having the confidence just to do it, and if it makes it great, if it doesn't, well, that's it.
Was the whole store filled with wine at that point?
It was, but the previous owner had a different mindset than me, and it was a shop that had boxes on the floor, 3 different wines in a box, and the customer had to bend over with dust all over it and sift through to find a bottle, things like that. It had an inventory that I had to blow through so I could create my own inventory, that type of thing, because I had a different vision from the previous owner.
Were you worried about his clientele during that time?
Yes.
Losing them?
Yes, I have stories about that I probably don't want to get into right now. It's kind of maybe a little lengthy, but he was very, how do I say it? He was very cost conscious, and from that standpoint, there wasn't a lot of generosity that was given to the customer, and that's where we really. It's a lot different for me. I wanted to really embrace the customer and feel thankful for the opportunity to serve them. He was more like.
That's why you're still in
he-
business.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
he was a guy that was like, hey, this is it. You got 12 bottles, you get a 10% discount. You have 11 bottles, you need one more, right? That kind of thing.
Sounds like
So-
Pavilions.
Well, I don't know, but so so different, a little bit different philosophy and things like that. But yes, he had an inventory there that some of the things were great, but most of the stuff I just blew through and then created my own.
Was that at your current location?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Amazing. Chuck, when did the Raymond, is that Raymond? When did that start?
We were in 3 addresses on Raymond. We moved on Raymond, after the soda fountain at Soda Jerks. I started growing the wholesale business out of Soda Jerks, and I put a 20-foot container in the parking lot to help me store coffee. And then I put a second 20-foot container in the parking lot to help me package coffee. And then when I asked Kevin about a third container, he goes, "You got to go. No more containers." So then I moved into a small business park on Raymond with the roaster, and I was only doing wholesale, and we had a bean counter, so we sold beans to the general public, but we were just doing wholesale out of that location on Raymond. And then we moved to the second location on Raymond, and then that's when we started doing drinks, because I had the roaster there, and I had an espresso bar where we were doing training, and I asked the health department about serving drinks to the public. I had the 3-comp sink, I had all the hand wash sink, I had everything that I needed to do retail, but they said, well, you're not zoned for retail, so you can't have any seating. And that's why we have the chairs as our logo, because people would bring their own chairs in and they would leave them there. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if anyone ever comes by to check on our seating, I can just tell them those aren't our chairs. They belong to somebody else. So I felt like the chairs, gave us a sense of community. I call them talking chairs, because it's all because of that first space where we weren't legally allowed to have seating, but we still had the chairs because people just wanted to hang out and talk. I remember when that started happening, my mom walks in and she looks around and all these people and she goes, "Don't these people have jobs?"
I never realized that was what the logo was for.
The chairs, yeah.
Yeah.
But as far as the risk part goes, I just wanted to say that it was scary, because I moved home into the original bunk beds. My brother and I moved home to the original bunk beds that we grew up in, into my parents' guest room, because my dad's like, we're buying 1 container of coffee, which at that time was $80,000 just for 1 container of 40,000 pounds. And then the second year, the market jumped, and my grandfather, he never gave us any terms for the coffee that we were buying from him at the farm. So we had to pay just like all the other customers, cash against documents. So the second year, the market jumped, and all of a sudden that $80,000 container was now $120,000. So second year in, I'm $200,000 in the hole with loads of coffee that I couldn't really get rid of fast enough. And that's one of the reasons why I started roasting, because I just had to get the coffee into the marketplace. So it was risky, and we definitely maxed out, all of my parents' credit cards.
Yeah. I
Wow.
got that.
Amazing. So 30 years is a very long time. Did you see was it 2 years or 4 years or 6 years, or when did you start seeing, or months were like, wow, I'm onto something and this is gonna work and I'm actually starting to maybe make a profit? And was it you and your wife working the store with the baby in the back, or?
No, she kind of helped set it up because that was her background. Then she started consulting with museum stores and other things. And I actually liked the store, so I kept it. And I when she first set it up, it was a little more like a museum store, nice stuff, a little expensive. And I came in, again, talking to people, and realized, sometimes they just want a stomp rocket. They don't want a mineral kit, for $34.
Right.
They want a friggin' thing that can jump up. So I turned it more, my wife calls it Dave's Clubhouse, but it's, more toys, but listening to the community, I think that's really key to knowing.
When did you see it, realizing that maybe you could stay a long time and it was going to be a long-term
I
business
kind
for
of
you?
from the get-go, although we were, credit card,
Yeah.
but that, and then in 1999, I had the idea there was an online store called toys.com, which was every toy you knew, They went bankrupt, they couldn't do it. But I thought if you just niche market and unlike the store, just do dinosaur stuff, I can find those 6 kids in every city and turn that into, and it turned into a huge success until Amazon came along. but so I could see there was a viable thing and it was working.
Did you always gift wrapped? Because I think that's an amazing part of your
I learned that
business.
early on.
Yeah.
That was crucial. And the parent, his mom saying, "Hey, I drive from Northwest Pasadena to buy. You know why? Why? Because you wrap." So and then Christmas is like crazy, but great.
No, I think it's convenient. I think you could skip Target just for the fact that you are gift wrapping. As well.
That's what the thing. You have to offer
Yeah.
stuff Target doesn't have.
Right.
We make the store environment fun. I have great salespeople. We have books. You don't order what Target has because I can't beat their prices for the most part anyway.
Did you think about how you would lay out from a kid's perspective or a parent's perspective?
Parents, like we'd stand at one side. The goal was to stand at one end of the store and be able to see the other end rather than see a giant shelf with pink dollhouses and get lost. It had to be kind of low. And yeah, I was a parent.
Nice. What do you think? Got something to contribute here?
Sure.
What year? Because I know you had your little Excel spreadsheet and stuff.
Well,
but
at the beginning, I doubled revenue pretty fast from what the previous owner, but he didn't have any inventory. And so ultimately, it was like if someone wanted to come in and grab a case of wine, I can order that for you. I'm like, really? So if you don't have the product on hand, you're losing the sale. So it was a matter of using a lot of the money just to create my inventory and get enough product in there so I could drive some sales. And once I did that was a big part of it. He couldn't do the volume because he didn't want to spend the money and bring in the inventory.
Right.
And so that's tough. You don't have the product, you can't sell.
yeah, and
Right.
you were lucky to have the product, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I had an
Yeah.
investor, so I had some money, so I used that into, I figured out how I wanted to remodel the shop, do what I wanted to do in there, then bring in the wines that I wanted, create enough inventory, then, it took time to get the name out and have people know that you're there. But once that happened, and then the service aspect, which was critically important, kind of shot everything, up. But it was like you can't do any business if you don't have the product.
Yeah. Chuck, when did you see the writing on the wall?
The light of the day?
Yeah.
About 5 years ago. Literally about 5
I
or
was waiting
6
for you
years.
guys to
About
say
5 or
that.
6
Yeah.
years ago is when I realized that not only was nobody going to ever hire me, but I had to make it work, and that it was a viable business. It wasn't just Chuck's coffee project anymore. The first 2 years we were doing the green coffee, we ramped up huge debt. Then 5 years after that, when we started roasting, we couldn't even give coffee away because nobody knew who we were. And then once we started doing retail and we created a brand for ourselves, then I realized, people, get this. Like I could walk into a store now and I could say we sell wholesale coffee and they recognize the brand. And that's when things started really happening. But I think that you guys can attest to me and attest to this. But it just seemed like whenever I had like an extra $5,000 or something, there was some expense that popped up, like they could smell the money in the pocket, and there was something, and it was like either a lawsuit, and none of it was the same stuff. It was always something that just like, how did they know that I had a little bit of extra money?
Well,
So-
it was a lot easier to get rolling 20 years ago than it is now. Small business is getting crushed. It is so much harder now.
Well, you guys were sort of pre-internet, if not in the beginning of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for toys, obviously, but yeah. Oh, man. And then obviously there's mail order wine, there's mail order coffee, there's Amazon. Great. Actually, let's talk about that. How are you dealing with that as business owners? Besides service, there's got to be customer service, but
It's customer service, and it's creating for me an environment where you walk in, you go, oh, this is like cool. We can
Right.
come, we can play, we can do it. I'm total
Amazing.
hands-on, because I'll tell people, my son, I raised my son here for the first couple of years. I'd take him to grandma's house for a nap, but the first couple of hours of the day, he'd hang out here. So I know what kids do. It's totally cool. Make them comfortable and feel appreciated, and just create an environment for me, and rap.
yeah. Well, I think curating, especially when you have a space like that, is very important nowadays, especially because you can't get that on Target.com or something like that. So,
No.
for you, are you reinventing the way that you walk into the store? Are you paying attention to
So
that?
I always say to my wife, Amazon queen, I said, people like you put me out of business. I
You
say
get
that to
boxes
her all
every
the
day?
time. But for me, I had a customer come in one time years ago. It says, "You got Veuve Clicquot?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "How much is it?" And at the time it was for $39.99. He goes, "I can go down to Trader Joe's and get that for $32.99. Why should I buy it from you?" I said, "Because I'm a small business that's just trying to make a living." "Give me 2 bottles," he said, right? So so that was cool, supporting small business. And same with like my online program. I'm not there to push money, and there's no loyalty online. Everybody wants the cheapest wine, but we have unique products that not everyone has. They're cool, that people buy, and they're cool with the prices. I'm a full markup shop, but I incentivize, and we sell like that. But it's difficult because I'll never be a player, online player. We have it, and it's nice getting orders that come in, and it's cool to see what they are and everything else like that. But at the end of the day, it comes down to supporting small business and supporting people that you appreciate what they do and their service and the products that they give, and you want to support them. And that's the bottom line.
Well, I also think all three of you guys do this, but you're also offering events, space for events, having people come do, right? Aren't you doing, you used to do events, I think, but, yeah.
I'll just be real quick.
Okay.
So I shut down the wine bar after COVID. We don't have a lot of walk-in traffic. We're a destination wine shop. And it got to the point where people come in, 3 people, and they buy a $20 bottle of wine and sit there for 2 hours and tell you their life story. And that just wasn't working for me.
Guilty.
So we do ticketed events now. So we have an event coming up on October 12th, Bodegas Muga from Rioja, $65, 5 wines, super high end. I have the pata negra, the ham that I'm going to be slicing, and we're going to do it in the barber shop in the back where they have this kind of speakeasy, and that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
I'll do 50 people, boom, one time, really great atmosphere, super vibe, and I'm doing that. I can do that one event as much as I did in a month doing a wine bar where I have to stay open late hours, hire more people, and get like 2 people walking in.
Well, yeah, you learn from that, but I think just the fact that you guys are even doing these things is
Yeah.
a big deal.
Yeah.
And it makes you different, sets you apart.
I will say that this community is very supportive of, they really love local businesses. During
Agreed.
COVID, I would have people line up, during Christmas, come in and find me and say, "Hey man,
6 feet
no-
apart.
Yeah, yes, masks. No Jeff Bezos for us, man. We're supporting you." And they would let me know that they were doing all that to keep us alive.
That's amazing.
I need another stay-at-home ordinance right now. Big time.
And you have a wine bar attached, and you've got bands in the morning, and you used to do tamales. I don't know if you still do that, but
Yeah.
it was cool. Jazz, right?
Yeah, when we were sorting out like our mission and that stuff, and everyone has these esoteric missions and everything, and I thought about it, and I realized that what we're really in the business of, other than selling wine or coffee, or we're creating space for people to connect. To your point about having events and stuff like that, because at the end, you can't really take that away. You can't sell it online. You can't do anything with it. So like even the chairs, it's like these are 2 chairs. They're 2 different looking chairs because people are different and they're connecting. The talking chairs, and we have these events. People can connect. And the other thing I wanted to do when I started was the goodwill factor. Is that I wanted our coffee to be at the fundraisers. I wanted our coffee to be anywhere somebody else would want coffee to be, or might have another coffee company at, and I wanted to be there as Jones Coffee, because then when people see us, and not just like gift cards on a table. I want the gift basket. I want something that's you can touch and you can see it, and you're like, I want that. I'm going to bid on that. I'm going to win that. Not just like a little card or a paper gift certificate, because then people see that, they're like, Jones is here, Jones is there, Jones is there, Jones is there, Jones is there. I'm going to Jones because they're supporting all of our nonprofits, our sports teams, and everything that's going on. And it doesn't take that much goodwill to get a higher return, and you just can't duplicate that on the World Wide Web.
Yeah, and I think if you're around for 30 years, being known is a big part of your business.
Yeah.
For all three of you guys, right? How many stores does Dinosaur Farm have?
One.
And you always have had one, or you?
I've always had one. We've talked about doing another one. My son's kind of slowly taken over the store, and I was like, I don't want to work more. And I'm trying to like back out of this a little bit. So it's one now, and we'll see.
Okay. One? Okay. And I don't want to ask how many.
Chuck's in the freaking airport.
Burbank Airport.
I
use them all the time.
It's like the employees. It's like how many employees do you have? Well, I have 50 employees. That's 49 more than I want. Or how many stores do you have? Well, I have 7 stores. That's 7 more than I want. It's like, how many holes in the head do we need, right? Our business is I'm grateful for every part that we have in our business. The retail built the brand, and our wholesale side of the business last 3 years has been growing 22%. And we don't ever intend to open another retail store. I mean, it's just an awful environment out there. It's awful.
Are you still in Burbank?
Yeah.
Also with coffee, I feel like you kind of hit as coffee became really cool and Starbucks came out and Pete's, and kind of at the same time.
We can, there's waves. They're the first wave, second wave, third wave in the coffee industry, and we consider ourselves 2.5 waves, which is kind of like 90s style. And so, the second wave was already strong, which was Pete's and Starbucks. That was the second wave. And so we're kind of like riding that wave at 2.5 wave. And we came in at a good time, for sure. I mean, it's not like I was controlling when we came into the marketplace.
Yeah.
But the wholesale side of the business is just really where we grow. Yeah.
So you have 2 businesses, retail and wholesale, basically.
Basically, yeah. We treat them as separate businesses.
How did you guys? So I don't think it's a too personal of a question, but were you able to get
Boxers.
PPP money with COVID, and were you able to? Did it help you? You said you closed down for a little while. I mean, there was an awful time.
I didn't close down.
You stayed open with the.
Yeah, we did more business, and it was amazing.
Really?
Online blew up. People would drive up to the curb, open up their trunk, and we just put the wine in there.
People were drinking a lot during COVID.
They were
actually.
Buying wine like toilet paper.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was crazy.
There's no toilet paper, but
It
there's
was
wine.
crazy.
Let's go to Mission Wines.
The problem is, I think they still have stock in their homes, and I need them to drink up and move on.
The toilet paper's gone, but the wine's there.
Good point.
Right.
Were you able to get help? Did that help you guys, your
No.
business, or?
It totally helped me. I did PPP. I also did the big loan to keep me. Otherwise, I don't know if I would have made it. To be honest with you.
Did you guys renegotiate your leases during that time? Or were you able to?
Yeah, my landlord she was pretty forgiving.
Great. Amazing.
She gave me a month or 2, and then I was
Good.
back.
You guys?
We got.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, we got the first round. We lost just enough money to get the second round of PPP, so we lost 26%. Our landlords, especially, the Richards family, they were very, very understanding and gracious during COVID. But eventually, we got back on our feet. Everything was good, and we were essential, so we didn't close down. But
Right.
it was a
Was
shit
wine
show.
essential?
Yes, it was. It was
That's
essential.
awesome.
Our business blew up. I mean, it was an incredible time. I didn't need to renegotiate anything. We were just cranking. It was so busy. Recently, I renegotiated because it's been a little different story after COVID.
So we're going to edit this for your landlord in case you're listening.
Yeah.
What would you do different now? Because there's people here that may want to start a business, people listening. It's definitely a mixture of online and offline and curating and events and stuff like that. But is there one thing that you would have done different, or are you pretty happy with how you did it?
I can't complain. I mean, it is what it is.
I can't.
I think I'm good with it.
With what we were starting with, I think I couldn't really do much different. I didn't have a big choice. So.
Amazing.
I think that if I was to do it over again, or if I was, because I'm in the wholesale business, so I literally spend my days talking to people about their business plans, and I look through their transactions a day, average transactions, what their projections are, how they're going to be paying for the rent, how they're going to be paying for their debt coverage, and if I did a work-life balance, you've seen that the 4 sections. You just put in all the stuff that you're good at and all the stuff that you love to do in one section, and then down at the bottom right you have all the stuff that you're bad at and all the stuff that you hate to do, and then the other 2 corners are the mix of those. And if I was to do it again, I would do that format and try to focus on how long is it going to take me to end up where I'm doing all the things that I'm good at and that I love to do. And so I might give myself like a 5-year plan to get to that spot. I think I would probably do something different like that. And instead, I just spent 20 years literally just like treading water. I felt like I was treading water, and that's why I feel like I really saw the light of day only in the last 6 years.
Nice. Entrepreneurship can be very lonely in that way too, I think. And 30 years is incredible. So thank you guys for that. Let's open it up for Q&A. Any questions? Jonathan?
Do you really want those questions from me?
Yes, we do.
Did you? Ready?
Wait, I think
Do you need
she's...
a mic?
Go ahead.
I can repeat the question. Well,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. You guys have some really outstanding businesses I've seen and I've heard about. What is it you're doing to hold the retention factor for your employees? What's keeping them wanting to be at the job?
The question was how to keep your staff with you in loyalty, right? Correct?
I think for me, you just have to be someone you'd want to work for. So, I treat them with kindness and respect, and I hire people that you kind of have an affinity for, even though they're 1,000 years younger than me. But I can kind of tell we'll get along okay, and it's just an intuitive thing for me.
Don't age yourself.
Okay, hundreds.
This is more of a question for you. You have like 50 employees.
By the way, your staff is incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
49 more than
And
I
I
have
think
1 employee.
someone like Justin, who has a little bit younger, it's harder for him to keep a staff. I'm imagining someone
Well,
like Mr. Chuck Jones here. is the same.
the joke I always tell people, like, well, when I hire them, I take a kidney and put it in the freezer, and I mean, they're not only they're not going to leave without the kidney, right? So, but I think that right out of the gate, the fact that I was working closely with my parents and they were an integral part of it, and there was a family environment. When one of these business students said that we have a tribal culture at Jones Coffee, and it's just fun. Yeah, keep it fun. Treat people with respect. Don't date your employees.
Yeah. Yeah.
No comment.
Never, ever.
Do you have a big staff too, Chris?
I have one employee.
So would you consider yourself an owner operator and just have someone to fill in for you?
No. So for me, I really, I try and really incentivize and create opportunities for the people that work for me, meaning that I give them buying power, I give them the ability to make decisions, to be able to run the shop when I'm not there. And so I've been really fortunate to get some excellent people that have moved on and gone on to greater things, and have worked for me and created some opportunities for themselves from being with me. So that's more being like a mentor and trying to, knowing that they're not going to be there forever, give them as much skill, let them get as much skills as they can get from the job, and then hopefully they're going to get other opportunities that can create great things for themselves.
Amazing answer. Jonathan, question?
Yeah, I got a quick question. We have Dinosaur Farms, we have Mission Wines, and we have Jones Coffee. The only one of the three of them that carries the name of the person that originated the brand is Jones Coffee, and I wanted to ask you about the benefits and the drawbacks of having that be your name as well as the brand. If you could mention a little about that.
Did you want to repeat the question?
You have to say it again.
The benefits and the drawbacks of having Jones Coffee, the brand, be named after you as a person. In other small businesses that I've worked with in the past, I've noticed that when a business can be named after the person, sometimes the people who call up, the customers, are not satisfied until they get to the person
Mr. Jones?
whose name is on the billboard.
Do you have problems with your name being Jones Coffee since you're Chuck Jones?
There's a big risk. Like if you read, I've been doing small business self-help books for the last 10 years. Justin, I know he does them too, and we get great. They talk about naming your company after your name, and there's a big risk in that. Especially if you sell the company. The interesting thing about Jones is that there's jonesing for coffee. It's like a heroin addiction crave thing. So there's actually a lot of people think that there isn't a person named Jones. Like they think it's actually
like you're jonesing for
crave,
coffee.
like you're jonesing for coffee. And when somebody says, "Is there really somebody named Jones?" and I'm like, "Yeah, there's me and my siblings and my parents. We're all Joneses." And they're like, "Oh, you're a person, Yeah, I'm here." And so, so I think that there's definitely a big risk. The reason I decided, because we used to be called Pasadena Coffee Roasters. Then we were Coffee Roasters of Pasadena, and then there's Pasadena Roasting Company. So we had all these different things, right? Somebody called up and said, "Do you roast chicken?" I'm like, we gotta fix this, right? So then I'm just like, we're Jones Coffee Roasters, and I really just wanted to just kind of like finalize it. Like this is it. We're Jones Coffee Roasters. That's who it is. But there's definitely a risk involved with that.
Nice. Any other questions? Justin Prieto.
You guys are at least 2 or 3 years older than me. I think about how things have changed. We're in 2024 now. 2014, 2004, 94. I feel like the ability of doing things in the world, there's the internet, there's our health, and all that kind of stuff. Working to 40, 50, 60 years old, all that. And it's individually for all three of you. Do you have an idea of when you want to slow down? Do you think you need to slow down? Are your abilities to communicate with your team and kind of create an environment of good work? How long do you think you can go for, or do you think there's a point where you're like, I gotta hang it up, I'm done?
How long can you last? To reframe that question, yeah. And then I would like to add to that, is there an exit strategy? I think yours is your son.
My
like you
my
mentioned.
son,
Yeah.
and I definitely want more time. It's not a lack of energy. It's just like I almost resent having to spend that much time at the store. I play music. I have other interests. I want to travel, and it's kind of at the point where my window to do that stuff is smaller. So I definitely want to back out. I'll still be the old geezer with the dinosaurs, getting all the herbivores and the carnivores in the right spot. But I don't want to go there 5 or 6 days a week, and that I think that's just me wanting to do something else.
Thanks, David. Chris, do you have a?
Sure. I just turned 65, and my exit strategy is I'm out next year, probably in March, and
Is this the first announcement that?
It's not.
Okay.
But I will say that I'm going to let the shop run. I'm going to keep the shop here. Have the son of my managing partner is going to take over the shop. And I'm moving up to Washington. I have my wife's a midwife, and she opened a birth center up there. And so I'm going to go up there and work with her. But for me, now it's time. I've been in LA 30 years now, and LA is just not the same place that it was 30 years ago when I first came here. So it's more thinking about quality of life, where I want to be, where I got 20 more years left to live or whatever it is. And this side of it now, I feel complete. 30 years, I don't need to be, busting cases open, hanging out at the shop and doing all the things that I need to do. For me, it's just time to move on, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. But ultimately, now at my age, I'm ready. I'm ready to go on to another kind of segment of my life. Maybe open up Sasquatch Wines up in Washington State, down the road. But right now, at Los Angeles, I'm probably out of here next year.
Congrats.
Jason, I want to ask a question. I meet with a lot of businesses every day, and one of the questions I ask is, where is your business? Are you in a growth phase? Are you in a plateau phase? Or are you in kind of a retiring phase? And so that's a very good question that Justin asked as to what happens next.
Well, Chuck still needs to answer that question.
Yeah.
He's still young.
I don't think Chuck's gonna answer that.
Oh, I will.
Jones
I'm
Coffee,
I'm
there's
54.
Coffee, but you guys are transitioning your businesses that were successful for a long time.
Yeah, that's amazing. Amazing testament to your legacy, actually.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, he has.
And Chuck, how much longer you got?
I'm 54.
50 years?
I'm 54, and I tell you that I feel like I just started.
I get that.
I'm traveling a lot for business, and I feel like I'm writing my own ticket every day when I wake up in the morning,
Nice.
and I just can't even imagine slowing down. Just the way. Yeah, I mean,
I felt that way 10 years ago.
I have to say, I love going to work. I love being there. I would do it if I didn't have other interests. I would be totally happy doing it. I always feel like a musician trying to run a toy store. So I always have somewhat of a almost imposter syndrome. It's I don't know what I'm doing, but obviously I do. But I love the store. I have the energy to work there. I just want to split it and do a few other things.
And then about a succession plan, my older daughter did ask me a few years ago. She'd be like, I'm thinking about coming home and learning the business and stuff like that. And I said that sounds great. And she goes, one day you're gonna need someone to run the business, right? And I said, if you want to buy it from me. I haven't heard about it since.
Any other questions? We have the
One more.
Kiwanis Club. Oh, we got one?
I was up there chatting with you guys and I was joking, but truly, you're talking about you're going to phase yourself out and move your mentees into your positions. So are you guys doing quiet quitting? Is that what I'm hearing?
Are we doing quiet quitting?
Yes. Your son, Chuck's daughter,
Yeah,
sort of.
I guess.
Or is it more about legacy?
No, not really. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll still be involved,
Yeah.
but not on the level that I am right now. For me.
Nice. Okay, guys, we have Ernie Edwards from the Kiwanis Club to present you guys with a couple things here for your service. Yeah. Arnold, yeah, Ernest Arnold. Which, by the way, his mom was mayor of South Pass at one point.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay.
Give him a microphone.
Their dad, that was great.
Yeah.
We need to shout out to the Richards, who
Yeah.
were kind of role models for me, living in South Pass and having their own businesses. And
Definitely.
part of it, when we were looking for a new house, it had to be walkable to Buster's.
Well, that was,
The best Italian sodas I've ever had.
when Jason brought this up, I said, I'd love to be able to recognize you. Because I was born and raised here, as the Richards were, and
Wow.
there's what makes South Pasadena the city and the community are companies such as yours that are part of the community. I mean, Targery was a haberdashery, and he knew every child's name, their age. You'd walk in and say, Ernie, you're 9 years old, you've got to be this size, and they come over and take it. It's listening to your customers, and that was consistent with all of you. And so I want to thank you for being part of South Pasadena, and you know, I know sometimes I'm the dinosaur, but I don't have a farm. But so what we have is this the Distinguished Service Award to recognize, but this one is it reads, Distinguished Service Award presented to Dinosaur Farm for going above and beyond expectations in serving the city of South Pasadena for 30 years. Presented by the Kiwanis Club of South Pasadena.
And not becoming extinct.
Yeah.
There's another one, amazing, and it has the same wording, except it says Mission Wines. So, thank you very much. And I noticed that I didn't sign these, so before you go, I'm going to sign.
Sure.
Okay, and then Jones's Coffee Roasters, the same thing. And I just want to add one thing. When the Richards sold Buster's, and there was someone in there, and we were so glad to see someone like Chuck, you come in. You were very much of the same character and involvement with the community as the Richards were for
Totally.
all those years.
No doubt.
So you're a blessing in keeping that spot the way it should be.
Yeah.
That's a
So
huge.
thank you very much.
That's a huge compliment. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Maybe we can get a
All
pic
right.
afterwards, you guys.
Thank you.
And there was someone before Chuck Jones briefly.
Yeah,
We don't have to talk about it.
yeah.
Thank you, guys. I think let's just mingle and grab some Defiance wine and just chit chat.
I got one more thing.
Yes.
Thanks, you guys, for taking some time on a Thursday night. We only have so many hours in the week. I think it's really cool, and I'd like to send a spiritual thanks to the grassroots family.
Oh, yeah.
For keeping this place
Definitely.
going on for, I think, 35, 40 years, something like that.
Wow.
We've changed it around a little bit, but I'm sure they'd like to be. They're alive. They're not dead or anything.
Yeah.
They're stoked. You guys are stoked.
Right on.
And Justin and I are going to keep this going, the South Pasadena Social Club. This is one of the first of many, so it's going to be part podcast, part live event, and as kind of things progress, you know, we're not really sure where it's going to go, but we're excited about it, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. One more question in the back. I'm not single.
No, one of my daughter and I came to South Pasadena in 1981, just before school started.
That's when I came.
One of the we started browsing the city and went along Mission. Richard's Family Fair was one of the stores that we visited.
Yeah.
And I loved that store because Dick and Clara made us feel like we were at home.
Yeah,
They
definitely.
were so welcoming. They were so charming. They were so comforting. It was almost like getting hugged from grandma.
Well, I think you felt welcome there. I remember feeling that way too. Yeah.
And as I hear the stories going through here, and it's still, you're very popular with the fire department. As I hear the stories, those are the elements that you give to the community that make me love South Pasadena.
Oh, thank you.
There are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But the more I get this type of attitude and the family fair attitude and how supportive they were of their kids busting out and turning into busters and growing, that's what makes me feel good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, that was great.
All right.
think that's a wrap.